Okay, we're going to wrap up hair coloring with the last section on color skills. This is a fairly long PowerPoint presentation, but you'll see it's it'll be very fast because they're just giving us lots of examples. Be a little bit of new information. All right, so it says focus on the steps performed during the majority of sought after color design services. Wouldn't make any sense to try and learn something that was popular 20 years ago. It's good to know it. It's good to practice it once or twice, but you want to spend the majority of your time honing your skills on whatever's popular at this time in history. All right, so they're showing you there the procedures, the principles. You're going to section, part, apply, process, test, remove, and condition. Nothing out of the ordinary there that you haven't already heard. Okay, here's some interesting parting procedures here. So you've got rectangular. Okay, so I like to do this on the top of my highlights. I like to make a rectangular base, then do my 4 sections below that. All right, so it's going to let us see that color right up to the part. So if we have a part here, we're going to see the color coming down, whereas if we're putting them horizontally like we've been doing so far, that's okay, but you're going to have hair coming down over and you're not going to see it quite as clearly. So you'll figure that out as you go along, what works best for you. All right, here's a circular pattern. I've never done that one, but it'd be good for someone with shorter hair like myself. And a triangular pattern, definitely have done this one. So for a fringe, for a longer fringe, and it adds interest in a specific area. All right, keep the following in mind. If you do horizontal, you will create a definite alternation of color. Diagonal will produce a more blended effect. So you'll see Mrs. Schaefer might be telling you to do 5 sections. She might start telling you to do diagonal partings. Okay, that will definitely give you a more blended effect. You can do straight lines, which will be slices, or you can weave it, which is commonly done for highlights. Okay, the thickness of the parting is determined by considering, how thick is your color product. Bleach or lightener just kind of sits there wherever you put it, and it doesn't travel through the hair, whereas tint will kind of, because of its thinner consistency, will kind of travel through and get places maybe that you didn't necessarily put it. Lightener tends to just sit on top, so if you take a thick parting and you only put it on here, nothing else is going to get highlighted. Now this can be a good thing if you're doing balayage. You just want it on the top of the section. Okay, how much hair density? Does you have someone with lots of hair on their head or not so much hair? And how bold or subtle do you want the end result? Okay, so there is some horizontal. There is some vertical. I've definitely done that, but I think diagonal's easier and gives you a really nice finished product. And pivoting, like a pizza. All right, here's our zonal. So anytime somebody wants a different color on the bottom than on the top, okay, the steeper your zigzag, the more blended the final effect will be. So in this instance, what they did was they put one color on the top, one color on the bottom, and then they alternated colors through here. You could just simply have your zigzag and have one color on top and one color on the bottom. Okay, highlighting, you're making isolated strands lighter. Low lighting, you're making isolated strands darker. Okay, so if you get familiar with that term, low lighting, we're going to make some pieces darker. Maybe you're trying to transition back to a color that you used to be, you got too light with highlighting. All right, so if you look at it, this and this is the same color, these two browns. One looks lighter, it looks like it's popping forward, and one looks like it's receding back. The blonde is popping forward, okay? So darker colors go back in, lighter colors come forward, but you can see the exact same color based on what's around it will do two different things. Okay, weaving and slicing. You can do it with the existing hair color, or you could weave and then apply color to the next piece, then weave, then apply color to the next piece, so you can alternate color and highlighting. The amount and thickness will say how bold or subtle. So suppose someone wants like a really thick piece of color, like a big blonde streak in the front. Are you going to take a big chunk of hair and do that? Absolutely not. You're going to take many thin pieces, apply the lightener back to back to back with no skipping in between. So there's no hair that's left out in between. It's just one foil after another till you get to the thickness that you want, or you can do that with color. So you're still creating a bold effect, but you're doing it with thin pieces so that everything processes properly, and you don't have light here and light here with a big dark in the center because the color or the lightener didn't get to it. Okay, and here they're just showing you the size of the weave. Okay, so they're showing you for fine hair, they're doing thinner pieces, medium, a little bit thicker, and then thick hair, or thick weaves on, this is what it would look like on a light density. So you would skip a bit in between there. So I'm taking light or fine weaves, medium weaves, thick weaves, but it's all on a light density, not much hair. On a medium density, you're going to make it a little bit more intense, and on a heavy density, even more intense, because if you skip this much on a heavy density where someone has lots and lots of hairs on their head, it's going to get lost. Okay, and there you can see examples of a fine, a medium, and a thick weave. Okay, slicing. I don't know how well you can see this on the video, but it's almost as if there's no hair over it. That's how fine you want to be. There is hair over that comb, but you can see that comb perfectly. You don't want to cover it up or you're taking too much hair. Okay, again, if you have light density, you don't have much hair, medium or heavy, and you're taking fine slices, medium slices, and thick slices, it's just showing you you're getting more intense the more hair that they have. You're bringing them in closer so you can see them. Okay, and again, there's a fine, medium, and thick slice. Right? There they're doing just a couple foils to create a focal point in this gentleman's hair. Okay, freeform painting. Basically we started out with ombre, and then I think we quickly graduated to balayage, and I think basically everything you see is balayage these days. So the difference between that is if I have a strand of hair and I apply color like this, okay, I'm doing an ombre. I definitely want this to be broken up. I don't want it to be perfect there. If I am doing the same thing, but I am going like this, and then adding some color up here, I like this nice deep V. You can keep working with it. Again, you want it choppy. That is a balayage. Ombre, it's broken up down here. Balayage, it goes up the sides, thin up the sides, so that when you curl it, you get those little ribbons of color through the hair. Okay, surface painting. Okay, it's okay, like with that clay-based lightener, that it only sits on the top. We don't want it to go through all the hair because we don't want all the hair highlighted. We want to see those pieces through there. Okay, it's deposited only on certain strands. All right, end lights. I love this technique. I get so excited when someone comes in with short hair and says they want highlights. This is called a shoe shine. Take a piece of foil, put the bleach on it, and you're just going like this on the tips of their hair. Okay, on this one, they're just painting it on the tips. Okay, it's just trying, it's like almost like you have a hair color that's growing out, or the sun just grabbed and just lightened the ends of your hair. Cap, we've done that in here. Okay, we put it on. If we lighten it, you don't remove this cap until you're completely satisfied with the toner. You've lightened it, you've toned it, and you're happy with the color. Then the cap comes off, okay? You can keep readjusting it as long as the cap's on there if you're not happy with how something turned out. Okay, there you can see it, that they're putting the toner on. That's the final result. And you want to put a plastic cap. Anytime you're worried about this drying out, you put a plastic shower cap over it. Anything that dries out is done. Okay, particularly lightener. Okay, a retouch. All right, so what they're doing is they're applying the lightener to the new growth, okay? And then they're kind of taking the end and throwing the end out the side, and then they're folding up the foil so that we don't want to re-lighten the end, okay? We just want to do the new growth. Let me see if the next one, no. So I'll show you here. Okay, so you have your foil. So you paint it on here where it needs to be, and then here's the rest of your hair, and then you fold this up so that it is not, so the ends are out. Now if you have really short hair and you're going to do this, okay, so your hair is like this long, okay, and you do the new growth. Then you're going to fold this foil up this high. You'll fold it up this high, and then you'll fold it up the whole way. You just want to keep it separate. You don't want these pieces to get more lightener on them. They've already been lightened once. Okay, a bowl and brush. You use this obviously with a thicker consistency product. We've already gone over this. Applicator bottle. Use it with a thinner consistency of product. Okay, base to ends. Anytime you're going to do base to ends, it is because you are going darker. Okay? And if you think about it, a toner can be applied base to ends because you're adding tone. You're going darker than the pre-lightened hair. So you can go right from scalp to ends, no problem. If you stay away from the base, okay, in this instance, they're basically doing an ombre or a balayage, and they are just using the foil to keep it away. But the other scenario that you want to keep it away is if you are going lighter, you do not want to apply the tint up by the scalp because of body heat will make it go too quick. It'll get too blonde. And also incomplete keratinization. Keratin is what makes up your hair, and it starts out from the hair bulb down inside your follicle, and it's very flexible, it's soft, and as your hair grows up your follicle, it gets a little bit harder, but when it first comes out, it's not completely hardened. Therefore, the products will work more quickly there. So body heat and incomplete keratinization if you're going lighter. Once you give this a chance to process, then you go back and do the scalp area. Again, it's like the tortoise and the hare. We just got to give this more time to work. We have to give it a head start. Okay, base only looks like this. That's a retouch. Somebody had their hair done. Now their roots, line of demarcation, that's coming in. Now we need to cover that up. We're just doing the base. And just doing the ends. Okay, so again, they've teased that hair and they're putting some lightener on it just to accent the hairstyle. Or combination, okay? Not sure what they're doing here. It almost looks like they have one color there and a different color on the ends. Okay, you process it for the amount of time. Remember to check your cheat sheet in the color book. Make sure it's for the correct amount of time. Don't just be like, oh yeah, it's been on there long enough. No, you have to give it time for those molecules to come together in the developer and the tint, and for them to join together and to get bigger so that it's not going to come back out of the hair. You can't rush it. Okay, you can see I definitely do this. You want to go around and clean up the edges, even though I talked about how you take this and you emulsify this, and that lets you get the tint off the hair better. You can still clean it up, and it doesn't have to be that messy to start with. Okay, to test the color within a foil, open the foil, pull a piece of hair out, put it on a towel, spray it with some water, kind of dry it with the towel, and look at it. If you don't do that, you're going to be fooled every time, because especially if there's lightener on there, it's going to look lighter than what it really is because of that white lightener on there. It's going to make it appear lighter. So you have to do this to test it. Okay, to strand test an all over color, you just pick out a piece, wipe it off, and see if it is the desired color. Again, don't just assume, wow, it's all packed with product, it's going to look different. Okay, obviously remove the color and condition it. Okay, so this is the end of it where it just gives you some examples. Okay, here's a solid form with repetition. Same color over and over and over again. Lets us look at the form of it. Okay, alternation. So there's the form and there's with alternation. It draws your eye away from the outline of the form, and it lets us look at texture within the hair color. Contrast. This one's pretty cool. They have darker color just kind of peeking out underneath, and it says great for someone with fine hair because it makes it look like there's more weight, there's more hair down there. Okay, repetition on a graduated form. Okay, again, we look at the silhouette. Now here's alternation. So now we start looking at a little bit more texture. And contrast. There's some lighter pieces here, it's lighter in the front here, creates a focal point. Okay, an increased layered form or a 180. There's contrast in color along here, draws your eye. On this one on the fringe. It's subtle, but it's there. So it draws your eye to those places. And progression, going from lighter to darker, and that's where you would make those zigzags to blend the color. Alternation again, she's got highlights. Again, it makes it look more piecey, more texturized than having a solid color. And on a uniformly layered form, repetition, we look at the outline of it. Okay, this guy looks like he should be on Twilight. I don't know why. I feel that every time I look at him. Okay, contrast. You've got lighter, you've got darker down here. So this will expand because it's lighter. This will look smaller because it's darker. Alternation has more movement to it. We've got light pieces and dark pieces. All right, check what you know. Horizontal slices create a blended effect, true or false. Always process color for 30 minutes, true or false. Parting determines how evident the color pattern is in the blank blank. Weaving and slicing, freeform painting, and the cat method are all examples of blank blank. The base to ends application thoroughly penetrates the blank blank. And interior alternation softens the form and draws what to the face. Okay, horizontal slices do not create a blended effect. It's a more bold effect. Always process color for 30 minutes. All you have to do is look at the cheat sheet. Depends what you're using, what volume of developer, has different timing. Parting determines how evident the color pattern is in the final result. Boldness or subtleness. Weaving and slicing, etc. are all dimensional color techniques. Number 5, base to ends thoroughly penetrates the entire strand. Everything from the scalp to the end.